Hey there, everyone. So I'm about to hop on with my really good friend Anna. She's with the Get a Rate Mortgage team, and she's going to go over some really basic first-time buyer tips and pointers, information in general, just to help us get past that what do we do confusion stage in the beginning of the process. So sit tight, we're about to start. Hey everyone, so here is Anna, and we're gonna go over pre-qualification, pre-approval, just really good information for first-time buyers. So Anna, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm good. I think I'm ready to start. If you are, I have some questions lined up that we can tackle.
Of course, let's go.
Okay, great. So the first one is, I get this a lot about pre-qualification versus a pre-approval. So some people will come to me with a pre-qualification and think that they're ready to put in an offer on a house. So maybe we could just go over the brief differences between a pre-qualification and a pre-approval.
Sure. So I'll touch on it briefly, just kind of generalities, but your pre-approval is definitely your very thorough, full approval letter. You will know exactly how much you are pre-approved for based off of your credit score, your debt to income ratio, basically all the details that are submitted when you do submit your full application. A pre-qualification, it's basically like you can be potentially approved for XYZ. It'll always be an estimate kind of, but it's not as accurate and as detailed as a pre-approval would be.
Okay, so then that kind of leads into why a pre-approval is so important, right? So from the real estate side, of course, we need a pre-approval to put in an offer on a property. So a pre-approval, I guess you would say, is more important than a pre-qualification just because that's concrete proof that you are able to take those funds, right?
Absolutely. So your pre-approval will give you an exact price as to what you can afford for your home. It'll tell us as a lender what all the details of your current scenario and your situation looks like, so we can tell you, okay, you are approved for say $300,000, and that's what you're allowed to shop for. Also, a huge benefit obviously of your pre-approval is that it makes your offer when you're submitting for homes so much stronger. When a seller takes a look at your offer and they see no pre-approval letter, they're going to be a little hesitant of accepting that. You always want to make sure you have your full pre-approval set. And with Get a Rate, I do want to mention that our pre-approval system is very easy. It is a digital application. It takes about 20 minutes. So I know a lot of people fear filling out that full application, but it's a really simple process. It does run your credit, but it gives us that detailed overview of what you can and cannot afford.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, I've had the luxury of using the Get a Rate portal and helping a few clients with that, and it is fast, it is seamless. I mean, very easy to understand from a client's point of view too. So that's awesome. And then I guess the next part is what makes a pre-approval more important than a pre-qualification is your credit score and your credit running. So what is your credit score important and why?
So your credit score is very important, obviously. The higher the better because you will get better rates. Um, but we can always take a look at what we can do with the lower scores. We do stress an importance on credit score because you don't want to be in the low 400s and try and get your pre-approval done because you wouldn't qualify for the options that are as good as something like you would in the higher 600s or in the 700s and 800s plus. You want to make sure you have a really good credit score when you're trying to obtain your financing for your home, and it only works in your favor too. So if you have any questions regarding your credit score, there's plenty of companies that you can contact also to kind of work on that. But credit score is very important. Again, the better your credit score, the better interest rate you qualify for, which makes your financing a little bit easier.
Wonderful. Yeah, I wish, just being the age that I am in my mid 20s, I wish in school they had maybe stressed a little bit more what a credit score can do for you. You kind of learn that. I guess that's an adult thing. As you learn, you understand that your credit score is so important. So anybody that doesn't know that now, heed our advice. Yes, your credit score is very important.
Yeah, and there's always like little tidbits and tricks that many people will kind of go over with you, but one thing is definitely monitor your credit as much as you can. You're entitled to one free credit report per year. So just taking advantage of all the things that the internet will literally provide to you is a huge help. Even now, like I'm pretty sure everyone's banking apps kind of track your credit score where you can actually see everything going on. So just using that as kind of your guide to make sure that you're on top of your credit is super, super important, especially when you're trying to get your pre-approvals done and you're trying to purchase your home.
Okay, great. All right. So I didn't know that you could do a free credit pull once a year. That's great
Yeah.
to know. All right. So credit check. The next question would be lowest down payment options. I think a lot of people assume you need 20%, which we know is not the case. So what can we do with that?
Sure. So there's obviously a bunch of different programs out there. I'll go over a few that way you can kind of get like an idea. So for example, for an FHA loan, your minimum would be 3.5% down. Granted, there is that mortgage insurance that comes into play, but you are able to do a lower down payment. There's also conventional loan options, and the minimum on that just about is 5%. You can do 10%, 15%. So you don't necessarily have to do the 20% every single time. There is options, but anything below 20% will cause the mortgage insurance to come into play, which is the lender's protection to make sure that they're covered because there isn't enough equity in the home. When you hit that 20% of equity in your home, they will take that off. So it comes off. But making sure that you do hit that is very important. But again, mortgage insurance is just something that comes into play, and it's not too much. It varies in the cost depending on the purchase price, but that does come into play.
Okay, that's great to know. I mean, so your mortgage insurance gets built into, I guess, your payments as you go forward, right?
Correct. It's just tied into your monthly payment. A lot of people won't even like think about it because it's just there. It's part of the payment, but it is there up until you do hit 80% loan to value ratio.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. I think it's a great option still, even for people that can't seem to reserve enough funds to reach that 20%. I mean, that doesn't mean that your goal and your dream of owning a house is out of reach, right? So, price to pay, but maybe worth it in the long run for some.
Exactly. And I think now with, everything going on, especially with COVID, I think it's important to mention that if you are looking to get out of, your condo or something and you're looking to get into that one family home out somewhere a little bit further in New Jersey or wherever you may be, it's important to know that you don't have to put that much money towards your initial down payment. You can afford a home even if you don't have that full 20% down.
Yeah, I think that stops a lot of people. They just assume 20% is required, but
Exactly.
I think they just don't know what questions to ask, which is exactly why we're trying to do this video to try to help them figure that out. So that's super. So we don't need 20%. That's awesome. And then we answered the mortgage insurance question in there, so that's great. Then I guess with COVID specifically, um, people are asking about employment. So if they were unemployed, how much employment should you have, I guess, consistently before you should be ready to apply for a loan?
So with any conventional loan products, you're going to have that 2 years of consistent employment that's going to be necessary in order to push your file through. However, if you did have a break while working during COVID, we would just be making sure that you are back to work full time and we have pay stubs to kind of prove that you are active and that you are working. Especially with what's going on, a lot of people have lost their jobs or been laid off or something may have happened during the time. But in order for us to kind of verify, we verify in the very beginning when you're submitting your loan application, we'll verify during the process, and then at the very end, right before closing, that you are currently working and your work is going to continue.
Okay, great. I think that's helpful because a lot of people, of course, didn't want to have this scenario thrusted upon them, right? So it's one thing to quit your job and to not have employment, but it's another for outside circumstances like the pandemic to change all of that for you. So
Yeah.
that's also good reassurance now that people are starting to get back to work, that that's an option to them still.
Yeah.
Uh, so then I guess the last question I would have, just to sum up our very general basic information about pre-approvals, would be how much should people be saving for closing costs aside from their down payment?
So I think the best way to kind of do it is, and the way I've always done it, is 2.5 to 3% of your entire purchase price is what you want to save towards your closing costs. And that'll cover basically everything for you. It'll cover your lender costs, your title costs, your homeowners insurance costs, your escrows, and then the outside things that aren't really included on the general closing table, like your attorney fee, your inspection fee when you go to inspect your home, all those fees that should be covered at about 2.5 to 3% of your purchase price every time. Obviously, it may be a little bit off depending on things like taxes and escrows, but that's usually a good way to kind of judge the amount that you have to save.
Okay, so that's a great gauge. So a percentage of the overall sale price, just to give people a little bit of a background, because I think people forget that there's even closing costs associated, right? So sometimes people think that the down payment kind of covers those, but I guess it's important to stress that they are two separate things. But as long as people have that in the back of their mind to save that extra 3%, just to cover those closing costs is really
Yeah, I think you made a great point. Like, people will assume always that, well, not always, but sometimes that the down payment covers your closing costs. That's not the case. It's two separate items, and we always make sure in the very beginning process of your pre-approval that you actually have those funds available to close on your property. So in the very beginning, when you are heading into the pre-approval process, making sure that you do have your down payment plus your funds to close is very important to have.
okay, cool. So I guess aside from what we've already covered, we talked about credit and how that's important, employment history. But when you go through the very easy get a rate loan process or any loan process in general, like which documents should I have handy um, to input? Like I know pay stubs is a big one. Should I have my tax documents? Like what kind of documents should I know that I have to go get?
So one thing that's really cool about our application is that the application, once you submit your entire file, it generates a list of documentation we would need from you.
Cool.
So you'll be able to upload everything into the portal, which is super great. But normal documents that we would need are just things that we use to verify everything in your application. So your pay stubs, your identification, driver's license, passport. We need your bank statements. We need your tax returns if you're self-employed, and your profit and loss statements. If you're a W-2, we need your W-2 and your pay stubs again. So it really depends on what you're submitting in the application. But a lot of it is just to verify your work, your identity, and how much money you're making.
Okay, great. So basically, if I filed my taxes for the year, I should have all the documents that I would need.
Correct. As long as you're working and you have your taxes done and everything, and you have your identification on you, everything is pretty easy to upload.
Okay, awesome. Um, that's basically all the questions I had for you, Anna. Was there anything else that you wanted to add to kind of sum up, or just like a good little nugget of knowledge for first-time buyers?
I think something important to mention is don't be afraid to get pre-approved if you are actively looking for your home. I know a lot of people hesitate, especially since it is a hard inquiry, but if you're serious about shopping, you're serious about getting your home purchase done and completed, it's very important to get pre-approved. So no fear. And if you have any second guesses or doubts about the process, always just feel free to reach out to your lender. They, more than happy to guide you through the process and kind of walk you through everything step by step so you are fully comfortable and you understand what your next steps would be, especially if you're looking to purchase your home. It's a super important process.
That was such a good nugget of knowledge. I love that. So yes, it's so true. Everyone is so afraid to get their pre-approval done. I've had that encounter at least 3 times this week. Oh, I really want to look for a house, but I don't want to get my pre-approval yet. And you have to have that conversation, which is good though, because I think it's really important for any buyer or seller to know out there that you need to have people in your corner that you can trust. So you need to work with an agent you can trust, a lender you can trust, and it will make everything so much smoother.
Exactly. And I also have to say, don't be embarrassed to ask questions. There's never a dumb question when it comes to these things. I get a lot of people that will be like, oh, this may be a stupid question. Your questions are never stupid. We're here to help. We're here to explain the entire process to you. So never hesitate to ask or contact us for any information that you do need.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's so true. I mean, how often do you feel confident that you know everything about everything, right? So
Yeah,
everyone starts somewhere. You got to ask the questions, and it's the best way to get the knowledge you need to be equipped to make a sale is to ask the
exactly.
questions.
Yep.
So that wraps up, Anna. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Oh, I appreciate yours. All right, guys. I hope everyone got some extra knowledge from this video. If you have any questions, please feel free to send them in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks so much.
Thank you.